I remember the first time Intel showed me something kind of like this. It wasn't the same as what the NUC 9 Extreme kit ended up being, but it was sort of like a modular computing concept that I think probably led us eventually to here. So this is my first hands-on with this thing. They actually showed off some designs using the compute unit back at CES of this year, but I didn't go, and I am very excited to take a look at it, assuming I can figure out how to get the bloody box open. Ah, there's a seal. These guys can be very, very good at packaging when they want to be. Listen to that, there's like metal clips in here. Let's open it up. And after peeling off all those layers, we are left with that. A full-fledged gaming machine that is not much bigger than a graphics card enclosure. In fact, most of the external Thunderbolt GPU enclosures that I've used are actually smaller than this. Truly impressive, isn't it? What else is in here? Power cable and Intel flashlight. Oh, okay, there's a blacklight mode if you need to find where your cat peed or whatever. Now this is just the unboxing. You're gonna find the full review over on the Linus Tech Tips channel, so I have done zero research leading into it, which means I'm just gonna read off the box for you. It's got a Core i9-9980HK processor. It's got 2 memory slots, so you can put DDR4 memory up to 64 gigs in here. It actually supports up to 3 M.2 drives, so you could run a bunch of like RAID zeroed high-speed SSDs in this thing if you really wanted to. It's got Intel wireless, 2 gigabit LAN ports. That's interesting. It's got dual Thunderbolt ports. The power supply input is right down here at the bottom, so it's got what looks like one of those more server type slim, long power supplies. And then over at the front, hey, SD card reader and a couple more USB Type A's, so that's a total of 6. Take that, MacBook Pro. Enough chit chat, let's crack this thing open. Gotta monitor my own audio, at home unboxing stuff. Oh, okay, so there's my cooling module for the top. So that looks like 2 slightly low profile, not super slim, but slightly low profile 80mm fans. This one's got a little protective grill over top of it. I wonder why that, oh yes, okay. That's because right underneath that, there's a power supply connection into the graphics card. So just in case it were to, I don't know, come up or whatever else, it might get jammed in the fans. That'll keep that out of the way. And then this is cool. There's these nice little contacts over here that handle power for the fan with just like a little splitter PCB right here. So that way, the fans get plugged in simply by sliding this cooling module forward. Very cool. Hey, got him. Oh wow, this is actually a surprisingly painless disassembly process. So you just pop this up. That gives us access to the graphics card. So I'm not sure what's in here. It's an RTX of some sort based on the size of the card. I'm gonna guess like a 2060 or something like that, but we're gonna get that popped out anyway. Now let's pop up this side. Hey. Also simple. And that right there is the compute module. So part of the shtick behind these compute module based products like this gaming NUC is that with almost no tools or expertise whatsoever, you could actually upgrade the graphics card or the entire like PC-ness of it really, because there's a 500 watt power supply down there and then that's it. The rest of it is just a case. So everything else about it that makes it a computer is actually just pre-installed on this little board here. So let's see how simple it is to get up. So I'm gonna release this PCI Express connection right here. And then theoretically, it's just like, hello? Oh, so I will need one more tool. I will need a little pokey pry thing. There we go. So that's out, that's out. Okay, so we can go ahead and remove the PCI Express power connector. And then in theory, this is just gonna slide out for me, right? Okay, so you can see my USB 3 front panel connector got a little bit in the way there, but not too bad. Schwamp. Hey, there we go. Okay, that was pretty simple. Wow, this is a 2070. It weighs next to nothing. No offense to Asus, but that is one cheapo feeling 2070 right there that they got themselves there. There's my graphics card, and this is the compute module doodad. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this, but I'm just gonna force it a bit. There we go. All right, so there's what is probably our front panel connectors, things like front audio, front USB, all that good stuff. What actually even is that? So we've got this large heatsink down at the bottom that seems to be over an M.2 slot. Now the thing about M.2 is that yes, it's for SSDs, but also it just happens to be just a PCI Express by 4 interface. So there's no real reason why you couldn't put anything you want in it. So let's see what's in there. Oh, sick. So this is a 380 gig Optane 905P. That would explain why it needs this beefy AF freaking heatsink on it, because that is not your mom's SSD. So then what do we got? We've got a PCIe 16X interface, presumably some kind of PCI Express splitting logic built into this board or something, because we've got a 16X slot for the GPU. That's gotta be only like 8X. We've got a 4X slot, and then we've got another 4X slot for that M.2. So I would guess that that is electrically 8X. 80 plus platinum power supply from FSP. All right, so let's set aside that for now and focus our attention on this guy. Should I take the cooler off it? Yeah, I guess I might as well take the cooler off it, right? Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Who am I talking to? Nobody. You just gonna come apart for me there, bud? Wow, this config that they send to the reviewers is loaded for freaking bear here. So you got a single blower cooler on this thing. That's because the CPU that it's using is actually based on one of their mobile chips. Now their mobile chips these days can suck back power pretty good. We've seen them well over their rated 45 watt TDPs, but they are still more efficient pound for pound than the desktop chips. So it shouldn't be that much of a surprise, but I mean, here it is. There's just this one blower fan and then this small, what looks like a vapor chamber with an aluminum heatsink on it to handle cooling for the CPU. And then you're gonna have some incidental airflow from this blower fan that's gonna provide some cooling to, here's a populated M.2 slot, so it's a 1 terabyte Kingston KC2000. And then there's another M.2 slot right here. And then we've got a couple of SODIMM slots that have 16 gigs of RAM each in the reviewer's config anyway. Which we are gonna take advantage of. There will be a full review on the Linus Tech Tips channel in the next little bit. But this is just kind of the unboxing and first impressions. But one thing I did want to cover before I leave you guys is just how incredibly small this thing is. So this is an Aorus external GPU gaming box that they released, I don't know, must have been a year ago or something along those lines. It's got a GTX 1080 in it, so pretty darn impressive little machine, and it connects to a laptop via Thunderbolt 3. Now, back when this was first released, this was real impressive. Cramming a power supply, a Thunderbolt interface with the associated chipsets that are required for that, and a graphics card into a box this size. But let's take a look at the outer enclosure. Actually, here, we'll look at the inner enclosures for the NUC and this. Now, this is smaller, but it also contains only a graphics card. And if you check this out, they're actually not that dissimilar in terms of their width. Freaking cool. Now, thermals and acoustics, that's a question for the full review. Bottom line, the idea here is that you've got a complete computer that not only can have the graphics card quickly and easily upgraded, but can even have the entire computerness quickly and easily upgraded on a PCI Express 16X interface. So that as new GPUs come out, you could replace that. And as new CPUs come out or new platforms come out with new features that you care about, you could go ahead and replace that. It's got like some fixed IO because the front is sort of, you know, prefab, like there's nothing you can really do to replace that. But the rear is all totally modular. So whatever they could put on a dual slot PCI backplate, they could theoretically put in the NUC. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this unboxing and first look. Make sure you subscribe to Short Circuit, and also make sure you check out Linus Tech Tips for the full review.